Part 1. The empty side of the closet. I moved out. We can talk when you're stronger. Maya Reynolds read the text twice before her mind accepted that those were the only words her husband had sent. No, how are you feeling? No, do you need anything? Not even, I'm sorry. Just one sentence waiting on her phone while she lay in a hospital bed with an 4 taped to her hand and 6 fresh incisions across her abdomen. 3 days earlier, Graham Cole had kissed her forehead before emergency surgery and told her, "I'll be right here when you wake up." Now he was gone. Maya stared at his message until the letters blurred. A nurse named Patricia stepped into the room carrying a plastic cup of ice water. "Any nausea?" she asked. Maya locked her phone. "A little." Patricia checked the monitor beside her bed. "Your husband coming by today?" The question landed harder than Maya expected. She swallowed. "I don't think so." Patricia looked at her for half a second, then wisely left it alone. When the door closed, Maya called Graham. Straight to voicemail. She tried again. Same thing. Her thumb hovered over his name. She wanted to be angry, but her body did not have enough strength for anger yet. Instead, she started doing what she had done throughout 9 years of marriage. She explained Graham to herself. Maybe he was overwhelmed. Maybe seeing her rushed into surgery scared him. Maybe moved out, in a hotel for a few nights. Their marriage had been strained for months, sure, but people did not pack up their lives while their spouses were hospitalized. People did not do that. At least, Maya did not think Graham did. She typed, "What does moved out mean?" The message showed delivered. No answer. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Maya set the phone face down and stared through the narrow hospital window at a gray Chicago morning. Her abdomen pulled every time she shifted. Even breathing deeply hurt. She remembered Graham standing beside this same bed before surgery, wearing his navy Alder Peak Capital jacket because he had come straight from work. He had squeezed her hand. "Don't worry about anything at home," he had said. "I've got it." Maya almost laughed now. Instead, her throat tightened. Her phone buzzed. She grabbed it, expecting Graham. It was not Graham. It was an automated alert from their bank. A request had been initiated concerning access to an investment account she and Graham jointly held. Maya frowned. One detail was wrong. Graham had never handled that account. He barely knew the password. Maya had managed it for years. She opened the notification and read the timestamp. Yesterday, while she had been lying in this room, barely awake from pain medication. Her heartbeat picked up. She called Graham again. Voicemail. This time she did not leave a message. Maya looked from the banking alert to his text. "I moved out." Suddenly those 3 words felt different. Less like a frightened husband needing space. More like part of a plan. Her fingers trembled as she took screenshots of both messages. Then she emailed them to herself. Maya still did not know where Graham was sleeping that night. She did not know what he had taken from their house, or how long he had been planning to leave. But for the first time since waking from surgery, she stopped asking herself why her husband had abandoned her. She started asking a much more dangerous question. What had Graham done while he knew she could not get out of that hospital bed? Part 2. The woman who made his life easier. Long before Maya Reynolds learned how easily Graham Cole could leave, she had been the person who made staying with him look effortless. When they met, Maya was 30 years old and building a career at Cedarvale Advisory in downtown Chicago. She was good at finding problems before they became expensive. Her manager once told her, "You notice the loose thread everybody else walks past." Graham loved that about her in the beginning. Back then, he was still fighting for recognition at Alder Peak Capital, staying late, volunteering for impossible assignments, and talking about becoming a managing director someday, as if saying it enough times might make it happen. Maya believed in him. Some nights Graham would come home after 10, drop his laptop on their kitchen table, and say, "Tell me this presentation does not sound terrible." Maya would pour coffee, sit across from him, and work through every slide. "You buried your strongest point on page 17, she told him once. "Move it to the front." Graham stared at her, then smiled. "What would I do without you?" At the time, Maya smiled back. She thought it was appreciation. She did not notice when it slowly became expectation. There was never one dramatic moment when she surrendered her own life for his. It happened in pieces too small to look dangerous. She canceled a business trip because Graham had an important networking dinner and needed help preparing. Months later, when he earned another promotion, she reduced her hours because his schedule had become unpredictable. She handled the mortgage, insurance, taxes, appointments, groceries, and nearly every detail Graham claimed he was too busy to remember. Eventually, Maya left Cedar Vale altogether. Just for a while, Graham promised. Once things settle down, you can go back. Things never settled down. There was always another quarter, another deal, another promotion almost within reach. And Maya kept telling herself that marriage was not supposed to be 50-50 every single day. Sometimes one person carried more. The problem was that Graham eventually forgot she was carrying anything at all. 3 weeks before her hospitalization, Maya had been sitting at their dining table sorting household paperwork when Graham walked in holding his laptop. "Quick question," he said. "Do you remember how we set up your electronic signature?" Maya looked up. "For what?" "Nothing important. Alder Peak is updating employee financial records." He gave a small shrug. "Compliance stuff?" Maya pointed toward the password manager on her computer. "It should be saved there, but do not submit anything under my name without showing me first." "Obviously," Graham said, almost laughing. Then he kissed the top of her head and carried his laptop upstairs. She had forgotten the conversation by dinner. Now, lying awake in the hospital with the banking alert glowing on her phone, Maya remembered every word. She remembered his question, his casual tone, the way he had stood behind her chair long enough to see the screen. Her stomach tightened for a reason that had nothing to do with surgery. Maya opened her email and searched Graham's name, then Alder Peak, then their investment account. Hundreds of ordinary messages appeared. Statements, tax documents, calendar reminders. Nothing that explained yesterday's request. She was about to close the app when she noticed something else. 3 weeks earlier, on the same evening Graham had asked about her electronic signature, their password manager had sent a security notification. A new device had accessed the account. Maya had dismissed it because the location showed their home address. Now she stared at the date. Graham had not asked an innocent question that night. He had been checking whether he could get inside. And Maya finally understood that whatever happened while she was in surgery might have started long before she ever entered the hospital. Part 3. Lauren goes to the house. By the 6th morning, Maya could walk to the bathroom without a nurse beside her, but the doctor still would not clear her to leave. "Your body is recovering," he told her. "Give it another day or two." Maya nodded. Even though every extra hour inside that room now felt like another hour, Graham had to move pieces around without her seeing them. She had not confronted him about the password manager. She had stopped calling him completely. Instead, she called Lauren Bishop. They had been friends since college, long enough for Lauren to recognize trouble from the way Maya said hello. "I need a favor," Maya said. "Anything. Can you go to the house? I need my laptop, the gray charger, some clothes, and the blue folder from the desk." Lauren was quiet. "Has Graham been back to see you?" "No." Another pause. "Give me the garage code." 40 minutes later, Lauren pulled into the driveway of Maya and Graham's townhouse. From outside, everything looked normal. The recycling bin was still beside the garage. A package sat near the front door. The kitchen light Maya always forgot to turn off was glowing through the window. Then Lauren walked upstairs. "Oh, Maya," she whispered. Graham's side of the closet was almost empty. His suits were gone. So were his dress, shoes, watches, overnight bags, and the leather case where he kept his passport. In the bathroom, his razor and expensive cologne had disappeared from the counter. Even the espresso machine Graham insisted was too complicated for anyone else to use was missing from the kitchen. This was not a man who had grabbed a few shirts because he needed space. Graham had moved his life out carefully enough to remember the coffee machine. Lauren took out her phone. "I am at the house." Maya heard something in her voice. "What is it? Maybe I should wait until you are home." "Lauren." Maya sat straighter against the hospital pillow. "Just tell me." Lauren did. Every item, every empty shelf, every drawer Graham had cleared. Maya listened without interrupting. Then she asked, "Is my stuff still there?" Lauren looked around. "Yes. It looks like he only took his." That detail somehow made the whole thing colder. He had separated their marriage into his and hers while she was under hospital care. Lauren found the laptop and charger, then went into the small home office for the blue folder. As she passed the printer, she noticed 3 sheets sitting face down in the output tray. "Hold on." "What?" "There is paperwork here." Lauren turned the pages over. Alder Peak Capital appeared across the top. Below it was language about an employee capital contribution loan tied to Graham's participation in a senior investment program. Lauren scanned lower. Then she stopped. Maya, your name is on this. Maya's voice changed. Where? At the bottom. Spousal consent. Maya Reynolds Cole. Silence filled the call. Is there a signature? There is a box for one. Do not write on anything. Do not move those pages. Lauren looked toward the empty doorway. What do you want me to do? Take pictures. Every page. Front and back. Then put them exactly where you found them. Lauren photographed the documents and sent them. Maya enlarged the first image on her phone. She recognized enough financial language to understand what she was looking at. Graham needed her consent for something connected to his money at Alder Peak, and he had apparently been preparing it without telling her. Maya saved every photograph to a separate folder. Her hands were steady now. Graham had spent years watching her manage his schedules, his paperwork, his deadlines, and his problems. Somewhere along the way, he had apparently forgotten what Maya had done before she became the woman who made his life easier. She had been paid to find risk hidden inside ordinary paperwork, and Graham had just left 3 pages sitting in a printer. Part 4. She does not go home. On the 8th morning, Maya signed her discharge papers without telling Graham she was leaving. The nurse helped her into a wheelchair while Lauren carried the small plastic bag holding her medication, charger, and the clothes she had worn into the hospital. Your husband picking you up? The nurse asked. Maya looked toward Lauren. My friend is taking me. It was the first time she said it without making an excuse for him. Outside, the Chicago air was colder than she expected. Lauren opened the passenger door and waited while Maya carefully lowered herself into the seat. Home? Lauren asked. Maya stared through the windshield. For years, home had meant the townhouse, Graham's shoes by the stairs, his coffee mug in the sink, his calendar covering the refrigerator. Now she pictured those empty shelves upstairs. No, Lauren did not ask twice. She drove Maya to a furnished 1-bedroom apartment 3 blocks from her own place. It was nothing special. Beige walls, a stiff couch, a small kitchen, and a bedroom overlooking a grocery store parking lot. Maya stood inside the doorway with one hand pressed lightly against her abdomen. You hate the couch, Lauren said. Maya almost smiled. I really hate the couch. Good. You are still you. By 3 that afternoon, another woman was sitting across from Maya at the tiny kitchen table. Rebecca Sloan had spent nearly 20 years handling divorces involving complicated financial assets. Lauren had found her through a colleague. Rebecca did not arrive with dramatic promises. She opened a legal pad and asked one question. What do you know for certain? Maya slid her phone across the table. He moved out while I was hospitalized. Someone accessed our password manager from our house 3 weeks ago. Yesterday, I received an alert involving our joint investment account. Lauren found these in our printer. Rebecca studied the photographs. Her expression barely changed until she reached the page marked spousal consent. Did you sign this? No. Did you authorize Graham to sign anything for you? No, Rebecca looked up. Then do not call him about it. Maya frowned. Why? Because right now, we have questions. If you confront him, you give him a list of the questions we are asking. That landed. Rebecca explained what they could do immediately. Preserve account records, document unusual activity, request copies of relevant financial paperwork, and make sure Maya did not unknowingly approve anything while recovering. Nothing theatrical, just careful steps. Maya signed the representation agreement. After Rebecca left, she sat alone with her phone. Graham still had access to pieces of her life she had never thought twice about sharing. Location, calendar, household passwords. She opened the settings and turned off location sharing. Then the shared calendar. Then she changed the password to her personal email and removed devices she did not recognize. Each click was strangely ordinary. No music, no speech, no revenge. Just boundaries she should have had years ago. Lauren returned from the pharmacy and noticed Maya staring at the screen. You okay? Maya placed the phone on the table. I do not know yet. That answer was more truthful than saying yes. Lauren unpacked the medication while Maya looked around the unfamiliar apartment. Graham probably expected her to go home, discover what he had taken, and call him in tears. Instead, for the first time in years, he had no idea where she was. That night Maya slept for almost 6 uninterrupted hours. The next morning, her phone remained silent. But across town, Graham finally called the hospital. He was told Maya Reynolds had already been discharged. He drove to the townhouse expecting to find her there. Her medication was gone. Her laptop was gone. The blue folder was gone. Graham stood in the kitchen and called Maya once. Then again. No answer. His next call was to Lauren. She looked at Maya, who was sitting only a few feet away. Lauren answered. Hello. Graham did not bother with a greeting. Where is my wife? Part 5, Day 9. Why are you asking me? Lauren said. Graham went quiet for a beat. Because Maya is not home. Lauren stood at the kitchen counter with the phone pressed to her ear. Across the small apartment, Maya sat on the edge of the couch, one hand wrapped around a mug of tea that had already gone cold. Maybe she did not want to be home, Lauren said. Lauren, I am not doing this with you. Where is she? There it was. Not fear. Not concern. Irritation. Graham was still speaking as if Maya had created an inconvenience he needed someone else to fix. Have you tried asking her? Lauren said. She is not answering. Then maybe that is your answer. Graham exhaled sharply. She is making this harder than it needs to be. Maya lowered her eyes. 9 days. He had known she was hospitalized. He had moved his belongings, ignored her calls, and left her to recover without him. Now that he could not locate her, somehow she was the difficult one. Lauren looked at Maya. Maya gave a small nod. Keep him talking. Harder for what? Lauren asked. Graham hesitated. There is paperwork we need to deal with. Maya's fingers tightened around the mug. What paperwork? Lauren asked. Financial paperwork. It is complicated. Try me. Another pause. Alder Peak has an employee investment program. Senior people are expected to put capital into certain funds. I am participating this year, and because some of the money is connected to marital assets, compliance needs confirmation from Maya. Maya did not move. There it was. Graham had finally said the part that mattered to him. Lauren glanced toward her. So this is about a signature? It is not just a signature. My promotion review is tied to this entire process. I have deadlines. Lauren's expression hardened. Your wife just had emergency surgery. I know that. Do you? Of course I do. Then why have you not asked me how she is? Silence. Graham tried again, softer this time. Look, things between Maya and me have been bad for a while. She knows that. Moving out was not supposed to turn into some huge war. Maya stared at the blank television screen across from her. Part of her had spent the last several days waiting for one sentence. Is she all right? Does she need anything? Can I see her? Graham had been given every opportunity to ask. He had chosen deadlines instead. Just tell me where she is, he said. Maya set the mug down. Put him on speaker. Lauren did. Graham's voice filled the room. Lauren. Maya spoke before her friend could answer. Graham. The silence on the other end changed instantly. Maya? Where are you? She ignored the question. You need my signature? I need to explain what is happening. We should talk in person. Did you submit anything under my name? What? That was a simple question. No, not exactly. Maya felt something inside her settle. What does not exactly mean? It means there were preliminary documents. Nothing final. I was trying to keep things moving while you were sick. While you were sick. As though her hospitalization had been an administrative problem he had kindly handled for her. Do not submit anything else, Maya said. Graham's tone sharpened. Maya, you do not understand how this works. For the first time in days, she almost smiled. Actually, Graham, I think that is the problem. You forgot that I do. He started to speak, but Maya continued. Rebecca Sloan will contact you. Who is Rebecca Sloan? My attorney. The line went completely still. Your attorney? Yes. Maya, do not do something you are going to regret because you are upset. She looked at Lauren, then at the photographs of the Alder Peak documents waiting on her laptop. I am not upset, Graham. I am getting informed. She ended the call. 47 minutes later, Rebecca sent Graham a formal preservation notice covering financial records, electronic signatures, account access, and communications connected to the Alder Peak transaction. By lunchtime, a copy had reached the appropriate compliance contact. And before Graham could decide how to explain any of it, someone inside Alder Peak asked the question he had been hoping nobody would ask. Who actually authorized Maya Reynolds Cole's signature? Part 6. The signature. By Monday morning, Graham was sitting in a glass conference room on the 27th floor of Alder Peak Capitol, staring at a document he had expected nobody to question. Across from him sat Marissa Kent from compliance, and a corporate attorney he had met only twice. We need to establish how Mrs. Cole approved this consent, Marissa said. Graham adjusted his cuff. Maya knew I was participating in the program. That was not my question. She turned her laptop toward him. Did she authorize this submission? Graham glanced at the screen. We discussed it. Did she authorize it? His jaw tightened. Not in those exact words. Marissa closed the laptop halfway. Then we have a problem. Across town, Maya was sitting at Rebecca Sloan's desk when the first records arrived. Rebecca opened the access log and ran her finger down the page. Look here. Maya leaned closer. The electronic consent had been created at 8:43 p.m. on the second night of her hospitalization. The access came from an internet connection registered to their townhouse. Maya had been nearly 12 miles away, asleep in a hospital room. Can they tell which device? She asked. That is what we are requesting next. Rebecca placed the page beside the banking alert. Do not jump ahead. We document first. Maya nodded. The old version of herself would have called Graham immediately and demanded an explanation. This time, she let the records speak before he could shape the story around them. Her phone began vibrating inside her purse. Graham. She watched it stop. 30 seconds later, it rang again. Then a text appeared. Please call me. This is getting out of hand. Maya handed the phone to Rebecca. Do I have to answer? No, a second message appeared. You know how important this promotion is. Maya read it and felt something colder than anger. Even now, Graham was measuring the situation by what it might cost him. That afternoon, Alder Peak temporarily froze his participation in the investment program while compliance reviewed the authorization. His managing director consideration was placed on hold with it. Graham called again at 4:17. This time Maya answered. What? Finally. His voice was low. Do you understand what your attorney has done? She asked for records. She sent a notice to my employer. Because the paperwork came from your employer. My promotion is frozen, Maya. She looked out Rebecca's window at traffic moving below. Did you submit my consent? I told you it was preliminary. That is not an answer. I was going to talk to you after you got home. You moved out before I got home. Graham went silent. Then his voice softened into the tone he used whenever he wanted the old Maya back. We built this career together. You know what this position means to me. Maya closed her eyes for a moment. He was right about one thing. They had built it together. She had just been trained to call it his. I know exactly what it means to you, she said. That is why you should have protected it better. She ended the call before he could turn the conversation into another argument she was expected to solve. An hour later, Maya opened her laptop and searched for a number she had not called in 2 years. Daniel Mercer, her former supervisor at Cedar Vale Advisory, answered on the third ring. Maya Reynolds. His surprise turned warm. I thought you disappeared. For a while, I think I did. He chuckled softly. What can I do for you? Maya looked at the financial records spread across Rebecca's desk. I want to know if there is still a place for me there. Daniel did not hesitate. Come talk to me. For the first time, Maya was making a decision that had nothing to do with Graham. Then Rebecca's paralegal stepped into the office holding a newly produced batch of emails. You need to see this. Rebecca opened the first message. The date was 3 weeks before Maya's surgery. Graham had written to a financial advisor about completing his Alder Peak contribution if his marital situation changed. Attached to the same email chain was something Maya had never seen before, confirmation of a deposit on a furnished apartment. Graham had not decided to leave while she was in the hospital. He had planned it before she ever went in. Part 7. He had planned it. The apartment deposit changed everything. Maya sat across from Rebecca with the printed confirmation between them, staring at a date that refused to become anything other than what it was. 3 weeks before the surgery, Graham had paid a security deposit, signed a 6-month lease, and scheduled the move-in date before Maya even knew she would need to be hospitalized. Rebecca turned to the email chain. There is more. Graham had written to a financial advisor asking whether a spouse's consent would still be required if a separation occurred before the Alder Peak investment closed. His wording was careful, almost clinical. No mention of Maya by name. No mention that she knew nothing about a separation. Maya read the message twice. Then another memory surfaced. 2 nights before her surgery, Graham had brought takeout home because she was too uncomfortable to cook. He had sat beside her on the couch and told her, forget everything else. Just get through this. I will handle the rest. She had believed that meant he would take care of her. Now she understood he had already been planning a life that did not include her. He knew, Maya said. Rebecca waited. When he was sitting beside me, telling me not to worry, he already had another apartment. Saying it aloud hurt differently than discovering an unauthorized document. Paperwork could be challenged. Money could be traced, but Maya could not cross-examine a memory and make it innocent again. That evening, Lauren found her sitting on the apartment floor beside the couch, still wearing the clothes she had worn to Rebecca's office. "You missed dinner," Lauren said. Maya handed her the printed lease confirmation. Lauren read it and slowly sat down. "I am sorry." Maya shook her head. "The morning of surgery, I apologized to him." "For what?" "For ruining his week." The absurdity of it almost made her laugh, but her voice broke instead. "He told me it was fine. He said work could wait." Lauren reached for her hand. Maya finally cried, not because she wanted Graham back, but because she could no longer protect the version of their marriage she had carried in her head. The next morning, she got dressed for her meeting at Cedar Vale. Her clothes fit differently after the hospital, and she moved more slowly than she wanted, but she went anyway. Daniel Mercer met her in the lobby. "You look exactly the same," he said. Maya raised an eyebrow. "That is a terrible lie." Daniel smiled. "Fine. You look like somebody who needs coffee." For 40 minutes they talked about risk models, clients, and how the industry had changed. Nobody asked about Graham. Nobody needed her to explain somebody else's schedule. Near the end, Daniel leaned back. "I have a consulting project starting next month. 6 weeks to begin with. Flexible hours. If you want back in, I would rather have someone rusty who knows what she is doing than someone polished who does not." Maya looked at the folder in front of her. "I want back in." When she stepped outside, her phone showed a message from Rebecca. Graham had formally requested mediation. He wanted to resolve the financial dispute privately before Alder Peak completed its internal review. A second message arrived almost immediately, this one from Graham himself. "Please come without the lawyer. We owe each other one honest conversation." Maya read it while standing among office workers rushing along the sidewalk. Months earlier, that message would have pulled her straight back into his orbit. This time she forwarded it to Rebecca. Her response was simple. "He can say whatever he needs to say with me in the room." Maya typed back, "Agreed." 2 days later, Rebecca called with one final development. Alder Peak had recovered the device information connected to the disputed consent. The submission had come from Graham's personal laptop. There would be no more argument about where it originated. Graham still did not know Maya had seen that record when he walked into mediation believing he could explain everything away. And for the first time in their marriage, Maya was going to let him talk before she showed him exactly what she knew. Part 8. The table turns. When Graham walked into the mediation room, he looked exactly like the man Maya remembered from important meetings. Charcoal suit, polished shoes, calm expression, everything arranged to suggest control. His attorney followed him inside, carrying a leather portfolio. Graham stopped when he saw Rebecca sitting beside Maya. "I thought we could speak privately first." Maya closed the notebook in front of her. No one word. No argument attached. Graham took his seat across the table. For a moment, his eyes stayed on Maya. She was still thinner than before the hospital, and she moved carefully when she adjusted her chair, but there was something unfamiliar in the way she looked back at him. She was not waiting to understand him anymore. His attorney began with the house, joint accounts, and a proposed separation agreement. Then Graham interrupted. "Can I just say something?" Rebecca looked at Maya. Maya nodded. Graham leaned forward. "I handled this badly. I know that. But things got out of control." Maya said nothing. "Moving out was supposed to give us space. Then you disappeared, attorneys got involved, Alder Peak got dragged into it, and suddenly everything became bigger than it needed to be." Maya opened her folder and placed the apartment lease on the table. "You signed this 3 weeks before my surgery." Graham looked down. His face changed for only a second. "I was considering my options. You paid the deposit. Because I needed somewhere to go if things did not work out." Maya placed the email to his financial advisor beside it. "You were also asking how separation would affect the capital contribution." Graham's attorney shifted in his chair. "Graham, let me handle this." But Graham kept looking at Maya. "I was planning to talk to you." "When?" she asked. "After you recovered. You had already packed." "Because I knew the conversation would be difficult." Maya let the silence sit between them. Graham finally said, "The consent form was preliminary. I never intended to hurt you." Rebecca opened another folder. "Then this should be easy to explain." She slid a printed access report across the table. Alder Peak traced the submission to Mr. Cole's personal laptop. Graham's attorney picked it up immediately. Graham did not. "You told Lauren it was paperwork you needed me to confirm," Maya said. "You told me you were keeping things moving while I was sick." But you had already submitted something under my name. I thought you would agree. Maya stared at him. You did not ask because you thought my answer did not matter. Graham finally looked away. The room went quiet. Even his attorney stopped turning pages. Rebecca moved to the settlement terms. Maya wanted an independent appraisal of the townhouse, her lawful share of marital assets, protection of her separate accounts, and a clean divorce. Nothing more. No attempt to take everything Graham owned. No demand designed to humiliate him. Graham seemed almost confused by that. That is it, he asked. Maya looked at him. What were you expecting? He had no answer. Near the end of the session, his attorney requested a break. Graham remained behind as everyone stood. Maya, she paused. Is there anything I can do to fix us? For one dangerous second, she saw the man at the kitchen table years ago asking her to help with his presentation. Then she remembered the hospital room. You called Lauren because you needed my signature, she said. You did not call because you thought I was missing. Graham's face fell. Maya picked up her notebook and walked out with Rebecca. In the hallway, Rebecca's phone buzzed. She read the message, then stopped. Maya turned. What? Rebecca handed her the screen. Alder Peak had completed its internal review. Graham had been removed from consideration for managing director because of disclosure and authorization violations. But beneath that was something neither of them expected. The review had uncovered another financial transaction involving their joint assets, one Rebecca had never seen before. And this time, the money had already moved. Part 9. What she took back. The money had gone to Graham's new apartment. Not millions. Not some secret offshore account. $28,000 from a joint money market account, transferred 4 days before Maya entered the hospital and used for the security deposit, prepaid rent, furniture, and moving expenses. That made it worse in a strangely ordinary way. He had used money they had built together to prepare the life he planned to enter without her. Rebecca recovered the records, and Graham's attorney did not fight them for long. The amount was credited back to Maya's side of the settlement. The townhouse was appraised and sold. Their remaining accounts were divided according to the final agreement. Graham kept his job at Alder Peak, but the managing director promotion disappeared, and the compliance findings stayed in his employment record. He did not lose everything. Maya did not need him to. Consequences were enough. For months later, she walked into Cedar Vale Advisory carrying coffee in one hand and a laptop bag in the other. Her 6-week consulting assignment had turned into a permanent position leading a small operational risk team. On her first Monday, Daniel Mercer stopped beside her desk. You know, when you called me, I thought you were asking for a favor. Maya looked up. I was. No, you were asking for a door. There is a difference. She smiled. I will remember that. Her new apartment was still modest, but it was hers. She bought a better couch. She filled the refrigerator with food Graham never liked. She hung photographs she had kept boxed away because he thought they made the walls look cluttered. And beside the window sat an old wooden chair from the townhouse, the one Graham had always wanted to replace. Maya kept it because her mother had helped her pick it out years before she met him. Recovery did not happen in one clean line. Some mornings she woke before sunrise remembering the hospital. Sometimes an Alder Peak logo on a financial document made her stomach tighten. Sometimes she missed Graham, which surprised her until she understood she was not missing the man who left. She was missing the man she once believed he was. There was a difference. Lauren came over one Friday with takeout and found Maya opening a small envelope from Rebecca. Is that it? She asked. Maya looked at the final divorce decree. That is it. Lauren sat beside her. How do you feel? Maya considered the question. Quiet. Good quiet or bad quiet? Maya smiled faintly. Mine. Weeks later, Graham sent one final message. I never thought you would actually leave. Maya read it at her kitchen counter while morning light spread across the floor. There was a time when those words would have broken her. Now they simply explained everything. Graham had mistaken patience for permanence. He had mistaken forgiveness for permission. Most of all, he had mistaken being needed for being loved well enough to deserve staying. Maya did not answer. She deleted the message, picked up her coffee, and left for work. The woman who walked into Cedar Vale that morning was not richer, younger, or magically untouched by what happened. She was simply no longer arranging her life around someone who treated her presence as guaranteed. And maybe that was the part Graham never understood. Losing Maya did not begin when the divorce became final. It began the moment he decided she would always be there no matter how little care he gave her. By the time he finally looked for her, she had already started looking for something more important. The career she abandoned, the boundaries she surrendered, the voice she kept lowering to keep the peace, and the woman she had slowly left behind. Sometimes revenge is not watching somebody lose everything. Sometimes it is refusing to lose yourself just to keep them. And sometimes the strongest ending is not making the person who hurt you regret leaving. It is building a life so completely your own that whether they regret it no longer matters.